Acting United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota, and I'm joined today by the prosecution team, Assistant United States Attorneys Alan Slaughter, Amanda Surdich, Leanne Bell, Evan Gilead, DOJ Trial Attorney Samantha Treppel, Trial Attorney Tara Allison, Paralegal Steph Braun, Henry Frank, Victim Witness Specialist Selena Colesrud, and Christina Busi, and FBI Special Agent Blake Hostetter. I'm also here with FBI Special Agent in Charge Michael Paul. On behalf of the trial team, the United States Attorney's Office, and the Department of Justice, I want to thank the jury for their service over the past several weeks. May 25th, 2020 represents an inflection point in our community. On that day, a man tragically and senselessly lost his life at the hands of law enforcement. It was a scene that will forever be seared into our memories. George Floyd, handcuffed and pinned to the ground by 3 officers, while a 4th, Officer Tu Tao, stood nearby. Officers Lane and King were positioned on Mr. Floyd's back and legs, and Officer Derek Chauvin held his knee on Mr. Floyd's neck. He was held down for more than 9 minutes. Mr. Floyd called out more than 20 times that he couldn't breathe, repeatedly begging to be let up. Eventually, he stopped begging. He stopped breathing. His pulse stopped. He lost consciousness. He became motionless. All the while, these officers to do nothing to assist Mr. Floyd as he lay dying. And the world collectively witnessed this tragic and horrifying loss of life and humanity. Today, former officers Tao, King, and Lane stand convicted by a jury of their peers for willfully violating Mr. Floyd's civil rights, the same rights guaranteed to all of us by the United States Constitution. These officers had a moral responsibility, a legal obligation, and a duty to intervene. And by failing to do so, they committed a crime. This is a reminder that all sworn law enforcement officers, regardless of rank or seniority, individually and independently, have a duty to intervene and provide medical aid to those in their custody. It's a fundamental duty of policing. It's good policing. In their custody is in their care. And it's a duty followed every day by police officers in communities around the United States, often under very difficult circumstances. Officers Tao, King, and Lane on that day failed to fulfill this duty, and as a result, George Floyd senselessly died. That is why they were charged. That is why they were convicted. And although today's verdict won't bring George Floyd back to his family or his friends, his community, and his loved ones, this outcome represents our collective affirmation to uphold George Floyd's civil rights, again, the same ones afforded to all of us under the Constitution. My pride for the work done by this team and by my office and the department as a whole is immense. This trial presented numerous challenges and hurdles, all of which this team met and surpassed with tenacity and determination and grace and grit. It was a distinct honor and privilege to try this case. Finally, and importantly, I want to thank the Floyd family and his loved ones for their patience and cooperation for the past 2 years. Their strength is admirable. I'm going to be followed here at the lectern by FBI Special Agent in Charge, Michael Paul. SAC Paul.
Thank you, Charlie. Again, my name is Michael Paul. I'm the Special Agent in Charge of the FBI's Minneapolis Field Office, which serves Minnesota and North and South Dakota. I want to start by echoing the comments of our acting U.S. Attorney and acknowledging the service of the prosecutive and investigative teams in this case. Their work from the very get-go on the tragic day that this began was prompt and swift. It was collaborative, not only between investigators and prosecutors, but also with our partners here in the state of Minnesota, and it established an important standard for us for swift investigative action in these types of matters. I also want to thank the work of the jury and their discerning ear, their diligence, and really their fortitude in bringing forth a very important verdict for our country. From the very beginning, the case had great potential to help inform an ongoing debate across our country about law enforcement. And today, their work, their diligence again, and their verdict helps us reaffirm a very important standard for all of law enforcement across America. The FBI takes very seriously our civil rights investigative responsibilities. It's one of the most unique investigative jurisdictions and one of the most important programs that we work. These cases are very important for defending the rights of our citizens, and it's important for us to remember the consequences of these types of incidents as we go forward. And this case, again, has established a very important benchmark for all law enforcement officers, agents, deputies at all levels of law enforcement across America, that we are responsible, we are professionally accountable for our actions and caring for those that are in our custody and protecting United States citizens, even those that have broken the law. And so again, my great thanks and appreciation for all the portions of the justice system that worked collaboratively and in a timely manner on this case in order to make sure that justice was done. And the FBI remains committed in the future to work these types of matters with our partners. And we're so lucky and so proud to have the collaborative relationships that we have in the state of Minnesota to work on these matters when warranted. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I'd like to invite Assistant United States Attorney Leanne Bell to come to the lectern and talk about the case from the trial team's perspective.
Good afternoon. My name is Leanne Bell. I'm an Assistant United States Attorney for the District of Minnesota, and a proud one today. On behalf of the team, we want to say thank you to all of those who supported this prosecution. We haven't been able to talk about George Floyd much during this trial, but as one of the brave bystanders said, George Floyd was a human being. He deserved to be treated as such. He was a son, a father, a significant other, a family member, and a friend to so many. His family endured so much to get here. And we want to thank the Floyd family for their patience and cooperation during the course of this investigation and prosecution. My hope, the hope of our team, is that today's verdict will bring a measure of justice. We also want to say thank you to the jury for diligently listening to this trial and through it all, hearing his voice. This trial has been long and challenging for many reasons, but this jury carried out their civil service with attentiveness and earnestness, and we thank them for their service. We would also like to express deep gratitude for those witnesses who testified at this trial. To those brave bystanders, especially, we say thank you. You showed so much courage that evening and through multiple trials. You knew what was right, and you said it out loud. Last, to the FBI for their support. We could not have done this case without our law enforcement partners and all of the officers that act with courage and compassion to uphold the Constitution every day. Thank you.
We have now members of George Floyd's family here who would like to say a few words, and I'll start by introducing Felonious Floyd. Mr. Floyd.
How y'all doing? I'm Felonious Floyd, brother of George Floyd. I have my nephew with me, Brandon Williams, who George raised like a son. Today is a good day for us. That this is the first time that I ever seen something like this did. 4 white officers were convicted of killing an African-American man. I know a lot of people have been texting me back and forth. I'm grateful for what all these attorneys did today. And, you know, they my friends, you know, because they did a hell of a job. And after just watching what happened to Kim Potter, I was like, I'm still going to believe and I have faith, because I just wanted some time to be served from somebody for what happened to my brother. This is just accountability. It can never be justice, because I can never get George back. And no matter how many times that I pray at night and I think about my brother 24/7, it still is going to be hard, even though we just had a federal conviction and we already had the state conviction. But times, you know, will be probably a lot harder for me still, because I can't get my brother back. And at the same time, I hope that Congress, the Senate, whoever it is, they're looking at what's going on, because if people are being transparent and they're also speaking out and the jury said guilty, 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 then up there in Congress, they ought to go ahead and say, let's pass this George Floyd Justice Policing Act to be able to help people of color be able to understand that they can move around and understand that they won't be murdered on sight. We need to end the qualified immunity. We need to end the no-knock warrants. We need to make sure there's no more chokeholds, and make sure all these police officers have their gear on, dash gear, body gear, all of it. Also, we need to start a registry for these officers to make sure that they can't leave from Minneapolis to get to Wisconsin and get a job there after you do something bad. So this is unfortunately a bad time, but it's also a good time. Like I said earlier, you come to some places and they might be wrong, but you're there for the right reasons. You know what I mean? So I just thank everybody who helped us out with this case. And I don't know how to act right now, because I'm getting emotional. I got a lot of stuff going through my head. This has been a journey, and this has been over 2 years of the same stuff, back and forth, back and forth. But I just thank everybody for coming out. I'm going to thank these lawyers so much, because, you know, without them, we wouldn't even be able to stand at this podium right now, just to be able to speak about what happened. So, Benjamin Crump, I'd like to give him some credit. I'd like to give Keith Ellison some credit. So many people who had their hands in this case, and they just made it better for people. And I'm starting to feel like I can breathe again, but I just need you all to tell Congress to please read this. Don't let this tragedy hit your front door before you make a decision. Pass the law. Pass the George Floyd Policing Act. Thank y'all.
I'm Brandon Williams, the nephew of George Floyd. And I'd like to start by saying God is good. And I want to send a huge thank you to everybody who's standing back here. You know, throughout the trial, they constantly checked on us and made sure that we were okay. And a special thanks to Miss Selena.
Miss Selena.
You know, you were great, and we appreciate everything. She made it a lot easier for us to be here, because, you know, we've been here so many times since May 25th of 2020, and these visitors aren't happy. And, you know, she did everything, and she was so great to comfort us and make this a lot easier, because it's hard. You know, it's a lot of sleepless nights. It's a lot of sad nights, holidays, birthdays, and you just wish George was here, because, you know, he was so family-oriented, and we miss him a lot. And you know, it's even worse because he was murdered. He didn't die of natural causes, and he should still be here. You know, this day is historic because just not too long ago, you know, the murders of Ahmaud Arbery, you know, were sentenced, found guilty in federal hate crimes as well. You know, that's like 2 in the same week or maybe the same month. I don't know the exact date. And, you know, that's historic for this country because oftentimes, you know, officers kill black and brown men and women, and we get little to no consequences. A lot of times we don't even get charges, let alone a conviction. You know, and smile about it and be happy, but deep down we're still hurting. You know, we want this to stop. You know, this means so much to us because we've connected with so many families, you know, that's in similar situations and receive no justice. And, you know, I'm shaking because my first trip here, the first press conference I did, I said that we're only coming here to get some justice and accountability. You know, and today was another step towards that. And you know, it feels good. You know, we were very optimistic today, and when they said that the verdict, that the jury were deliberating, because we saw what happened in the Kim Powder sentencing. You know, there's no way that an unarmed black man supposedly accidentally killed, and the cop is only sentenced to 18 months. You know, I found that very disrespectful and hurtful because, you know, I've connected with Dante Wright's family, and I just felt for him so bad because I know what Dante meant to Miss Katie and Mr. Arbery. So we were very optimistic and nervous pending the outcome of this verdict. So hopefully this is a step in the right direction for people that's in power to do the right thing, you know, to change laws and policies, you know, that's gonna protect people from these situations. You know, and more than anything, that's gonna hold them accountable and sends a message that says if you murder or use excessive or deadly force, it's consequences that follow.
Yes.
I think when you make a statement by convicting these officers, you know, they start to feel like, hey, maybe I shouldn't do it, I can't get away with it. Because in the past, they've gotten away with it so much. So all in all, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody that played a role in this. You know, thank you to family, friends, the people that don't know us, the media, everybody that got out and protested, that just sent prayers. You know, we really appreciate it because when these cameras go away, our pain don't. So thank y'all.
Yeah. And also, if they can make federal laws to protect the bird, then they can make federal laws to protect people of color. Thank y'all.
Thank you, everybody.
Mr. Kovacs, what kind of sentencing will you recommend for these defendants?
Oh, we're not doing questions, but thank you. We'll do that in due course. Thank you.
Yep. All right. Yeah, that was the defense attorney, George Floyd's family, including his brother, Floyd, reacting to the verdict. Floyd called it accountability, said it doesn't bring his brother George back, but he's happy to see 4 white police officers held accountable for killing a black man. They said that they were nervous and optimistic as they awaited the verdict. They hope to see some sort of prison time, but they are satisfied with what happened here today. And you also heard there from the national prosecution. Really, the crux of the prosecution's case and what they've been the best with throughout this trial is showing that through the video that we've all seen, and through the bystanders that were standing.
if that would ever happen, but I think if it did, it would be a better way to serve and protect. And I think you'll have a lot of happy people. And the things that African American people have to go through and what they have to say to their kids is a lot different. We have to make sure that we tell our kids to make sure they roll down all the windows when they're getting pulled over, because we want the officer to understand that nobody's there in the back seat if nobody's there. Because this is the saddest thing that you can hear. If one of your kids come up and somebody come to your door and knock on it and say, "Are you so and so?" and you say yes, and well, your son has been murdered or he has been killed, and then you see police officers. A lot of them don't even get convicted. A lot of them don't even get and put incarcerated. They usually just be at home. But the fact that we had the chance to get some type of accountability, it's like it has been served on a platter. And that's the only thing I can say about it. To me, this is a day not just for us. This is a day for people who helped all around the world. Even the Amish came out. People marched during the pandemic because they wanted